And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. As you know, I just completed about a 10-day hiatus. Went away from the office, took some time for some R&R down in Florida. And as I mentioned in the last episode, we did a little fishing. And as I was thinking about this fishing theme, I'm reminded of a time whenever my dad, myself, and a couple other people jumped in a boat and headed way out into the Atlantic. And as we left, we heard lots of captains chatter about how bad it was going to be today, how bad your fishing is going to be. The waves are going to be too high. The wind's going to be nasty. There's storms all around. And I can remember the captain of the boat saying, when you leave the shore, always expect to hear some noise. When you leave the shore, always expect to hear some noise. And it got to me thinking that how do we succeed despite blank? How do we succeed despite fill in the blank? What is it that is preventing you from succeeding? You know, we talk a lot about vision. That's one of my strengths. I like to think about where we're going and how we're going to get there. And oftentimes, clients will engage our firm to walk through the financial planning process first, as we always do, and then go through the business planning process to improve the value of their business, to move them out of the epicenter of their business, to try to help them increase their net worth. We like to show people that, hey, it is possible that you can double your net worth every 3 to 5 years. It is possible. We like to show people that how that works. And we have these lofty visionary dreams, these goals, if you will. But yet it's not long after that something happens, that we hear noise for the first time. Right now we're working with a number of new clients. When I say new, less than about 12 months. And because of COVID last year, we were in survival mode. We were consulting either from a personal level or a business level through survival, as much of the world was this last year. And in some parts of our country, in January, February of this year, life seemed to get back to normal. And now the clients are realizing the changes that we're asking them to do are painful. They're painful. And they're hearing noise for the first time. So how do they succeed despite the noise? You know, some of the most popular noises that we'll hear is unexpected negativity. I know I personally have dealt with this. You expect people to hoorah-rah as you make this new push, this change in direction, to set this new vision out. But sometimes those closest to you don't agree with your new direction or your vision. So you've had it from your team. I was speaking with a business owner this last week that one of their longest employees, 18 years with this company, is now the trouble of the company. It's putting a bad influence on all the new hires. When I say new, relatively new, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But this seasoned veteran of their industry is now causing much negativity. And so we're having to deal with how are we going to deal with this? Is it going to be a token firing? Is it going to be an exodus? How are we going to deal with it? So there's unexpected negativity from your team, your family. You know, you can always count on mom, right? Mom was always there to say, son, you can do this. Have you ever had your mother or your father, your brother, sister, cousin, uncle say, man, have you lost your mind? Your goals are too ambitious. You're crazy. I was talking with someone this last week that their whole family rejected them in this new direction they want to hear. They wanted to go. They had unexpected negativity. Their friends. Yeah, friends. You know, I've often heard said if we have enough friends that we can count on one hand, then we are highly blessed. And I got to tell you, friends, I've got some true friends that have been with me through some very hard times in my life, some difficult times in my life, and they are a blessing. But sometimes they can be a little negative. We look at this statement as somebody will look at it and say, is this a new idol? In other words, like worship, like a little god, IDOL, or are these just idle words? Are these words just, once again, my business owners are just blowing steam. Nothing's going to change. Oh, here's a new direction. Don't worry. It'll fizzle out. I was reading a book on vacation, which gave me a lot of thinking for today. And I happen to know one of the authors of this book. The book is The Reality of Change. The reality of change. Mastering positive change is key to extraordinary leadership and optimal business outcomes. It's written by Fred Johnson and Paul Mettler. I know Paul personally. I'm going to have him on the podcast in the next coming up. But I've read through this book now 3 or 4 times, and it was given to me by a close friend, a true friend, who said, "Man, Justin, with where your business is, and as you've been teaching and talking, the things that you have incorporated in your business, I'm starting to see that your vision is getting a little cloudy. I'm starting to watch you personally. And candidly, friends, I've been on this journey of business ownership for 20-something years, more than 20 years now, since I was 15 years old. What is that, 27 years? Holy cow. 27 years I've been a business owner. And I got to tell you, sometimes I'm tired of the fight. Don't want to give up, but it's like, oh, man. And over the last 5 years, it's been a change in direction, clearing vision, getting systems and processes and all those things, as we mentioned last week, getting out of that turmoil, getting into that success mode, that autopilot mode. That's where my life has been for 5 years. And now as I'm looking out on the horizon, I know that there's change coming, but I'm not sure I'm ready for it, if I'm being completely honest. And so this book was given to me, and in the book, there's an illustration that I know all too well. And we often may deal with this as some noise. It's the crabs in the bucket. So one of my favorite things to do when I go to South Georgia is to go crabbing. It's where you find a bridge somewhere where the brackish or salt water, and you get these crab baskets. It's a wire basket that has a little bit of cloth in it in some of them. And it looks like a basket that you would collect pine cones in or peaches in, except it's made to go in the water. And whenever it hits the bottom of the river, it lays flat on the ground. And in the center of the basket, you actually tie like a stinky chicken leg or a fish head or something that stinks. And the crabs all smell it. And here they come running downstream, or upstream in this case. And they start eating on this bait that you have in the crab basket. And you pull the crab basket up really fast and you catch the blue crabs. And if they're a good crab, you throw them in a bucket. But what's interesting is a blue crab in a bucket. Same thing happens with crawfish, I'm told. But blue crabs in a bucket. Occasionally one will start to climb out of the bucket, and as soon as you think he's going to get out, another one of his comrades grabs the legs and pulls him back down. It's really kind of crazy to watch. You don't have to really put a lid on the bucket because the crabs prevent each other from escaping. One breaks out to go to freedom, to reach their dream, and another one pulls them back in. And that may be what you're dealing with. That may be some of the noise that you're dealing with right now as a business owner. You see a breakout, but somebody is there pulling you back. Or that's what it feels like. Maybe you're dealing with the personalization of the critics. You know, as I often say, is if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. Our mind controls so much of our success in life. And as we're on our journey, we listen to our naysayers and we start believing what they say. It's the personalization becomes reality. The Sound of Silence. I love that song. I know that Simon and Garfunkel originally sang it, but I love it. I love the rendition by Disturbed. It's a great song to me. I've been playing it on the piano at home recently. Believe it or not, whenever we start on our journey to reach our new dream, there aren't any many cheerleaders. The cheerleaders aren't there to hoorah-rah us along. Being a business owner is oftentimes very lonely. I hear you every day talk about how lonely it is. I myself have said, who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? So I find myself talking to other business owners in confidence about emotions, about feelings, things that you would never mention to your team because you don't want them to be affected by a negative thought, a positive thought, or whatever that you haven't quite couched. So this can be lonely sometimes, and that could be the noise we deal with, the sound of silence. Maybe it's the terror, the sheer devastation of failure. Now, that's never been one of mine. I don't care if I fall flat on my face. I think maybe the older I'm getting, I'm realizing that I don't have as much time to recover, but I can remember saying, well, if this doesn't work, I still have 30, 40 years ahead of me. Maybe it's the the how detrimental it would be if you fail. Maybe it's that pride that we're dealing with. If this doesn't work, man, I got to eat humble pie. Maybe your identity is based on performance. Maybe your identity is based on performance. I've seen that happen so many times. I know we have clients who are dentists that are unbelievable producers. They produce tons of dentistry, do great work, and that's their identity. And if you try to move them out of that particular metric, they're lost. What noise are you hearing right now? I know you're hearing noise because every single client I've spoken with in the last 30 days has had some sort of noise that they're dealing with. So how are we going to succeed despite the noise? Despite the negativity, despite these, quote, idle words, despite our peers pulling us down, or our team members, we feel like they're pulling us down, despite the criticisms that we're now personalizing, despite the silence, not having the cheerleaders alongside, hoorah, and you saying, hey, you got this. Despite the devastation or the thought of failure, despite your identity being wrapped up in your business, whatever it is, friends, when you leave the shore, when you leave where you're at and experience change to a new destination, you're going to hear some noise. As we were pulling out of that port that morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, the sun was just coming up on the East Coast on a hot summer day, and we're getting in the boat and we're chugging out, and you could hear the other captains talking trash all the way out. Oh, you boys ain't going to catch nothing today. You boys, the wind's going to kick you off the boat. That boat's going to capsize. All the junk. Yet, 8 hours later, we had the greatest fishing experience that I can remember in my lifetime. We caught more mahi and wahoo and just about every species of target game fish that you could do. We filled the boat. So friends, how are we going to succeed on this goal, this vision that we've laid out for us? Winston Churchill gave an address to the Harrow School in October 29th, 1941. And he said, and I quote, "Never give in. Never give in. Never, 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 never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in. Except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy." I love that. I love the tenacity in that. I love the veracity. I love the vim, the vigor that you can almost see him as he's giving this particular address to these students. And I want to tell you the same thing, friends. We're getting our feet back underneath us, recovering from a year of just turmoil. And now we had this vision, we had these grandiose ideas that we launched out last year. We were walking through, kind of educating you and challenging you to set your new vision, set your new goals, set your new dream. And all of a sudden now I'm starting to hear it. I myself am feeling it a little bit. Man, things just aren't exactly the way we want it to be. So how are we going to succeed? Here we go. It's easy to do. It's easy to say, hard to do. So here we go. Visualize your wildest dream. Vivid clarity. Let's, for example, say that one of your goals in life, and I'm going to pull it out of business because oftentimes we can get muddy there as we go through planning and visualization, all that stuff, but let's talk about a personal goal. Let's say that you want to buy a beach house. Let's just use that as an example. Where would you buy this beach house? Well, Justin, that's not my goal. Just work with me here, friends. Would it be in the Gulf of Mexico? Would it be on the Florida shore, the Alabama shore, the Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas shoreline? Where's it going to be if it's on the Gulf? If it's on the Atlantic, which one of the border states? Are we looking at a tropical island somewhere? Is it in the West Coast? Maybe it's in the Caribbean. Maybe it's in Mexico or South America. Where is your beach house going to be? Okay. What color is it? I saw a beach house while we were down in Florida that was a coral, like almost like a pinkish reddish color. It was gorgeous. It had white shutters on it. It had a white roof, a white standing seam metal roof. The shutters were the type of shutters, by the way, that were the storm shutters. They can move in and out of the way. It had a parking garage, so to speak, where, most of the beach houses on the ocean are up on stilts to prevent hurricane floodwaters from damaging the house. And so you could drive underneath the house and park your car underneath there. There was an outside shower. There was a swimming pool right against the beach house. It had an elevator to keep people from having to climb the stairs, but it did have stairs nonetheless. Inside the house, it had marble countertops. It had gorgeous tile floors throughout the entire house that looked like barnwood plank. I love that. I love we have barnwood throughout our whole house, and this was tile to keep the sand so you could easily remove the sand. The air conditioners had 3 different air conditioners, because if you ever go on the beach, you want it cold so you can sleep good at night. At least that's me. I like to see polar bears move around after a long day on the beach. Had 3 different air conditioners in the house. It was about 4,500 square foot. What is your beach house? Can you see it? Was there a palm tree in the front yard? Was there a shell-lined driveway? Was there a water feature? Get personal. Get ultra vivid with clarity. Let's take that illustration, go to your business. Where do you see your business in 3 years? And that's a long time, as you know, in business. Where do you see it? What clarity can you add? How many people are working for you? What products are your number one products? What metrics are you using to measure today, and how will they change over the next 3 years? What will the market impact with your business? So as you're visualizing your dream, you're ultimately trying to decide on what is important to you. You're the business owner. What's important to you and why? Why is it important? I love Simon Sinek's work, Start With Why. I know I've mentioned that before. It's a great great YouTube video. It's a great book. I was talking to somebody the other day that never heard of Simon Sinek. Obviously, business owners are busy. So, friends, I challenge you to just Google Start With Why. Watch his little video. Why do you want to accomplish this? So, number one, we got to get crystal clear. Visualize our dream. We've got to know it. We got to smell it. We got to taste it. We got to see it. On my desk, as a side note, I've had a Shelby Cobra, a blue Shelby Cobra. This is a Ford model vehicle from the 1960s. They're very expensive cars. Now there's kit cars, KIT cars now that people use, but this is a very interesting car from the 1960s. And I've had it on my desk for years because I remember saying one day I'll own that car. It's a dream. I've had in my mind a picture of a Yamaha baby grand piano 6 foot. For years, my wife and I have been saving. We actually built a room in our house for this baby grand piano. It's been a dream of mine for years. That dream became a reality recently, and now I can walk in and sit down at the baby grand and play the piano. It's a reality. It's a dream. We actually going to record. We're getting ready to record music for the podcast episodes and some other stuff as some backdrops that we're working on. So working on sound engineers to get all this stuff put together for our company. But yeah, what is your dream? Once you can visualize your dream, then you've got to learn to value endurance. Value endurance. Many times business is not a sprint. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And the marathon could be over decades. Now, oftentimes clients ask us within a 5 to 10 year period to get them where they need to be. And I love that. I love it when someone says, hey, here's where I'm at today and here's where I want to be, help. And they're come in with this with ideas, and we can validate those ideas, or we can quantify those ideas and say, hey, here's some alternatives, and help them reach their goals. I love that. But business, life, finances, it's a marathon. It's endurance driven. So let me ask you this question. What captures your heart? What captures your heart today? And what captures your heart today is probably not the same thing it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, heck, COVID turned our worlds upside down. Many of us are thinking differently now because of what COVID did. Is your vision still the same? If so, are your values still the same? Are the same thing capturing your heart? I'm reminded of the movie Rocky, with Sylvester Stallone, and the song "I the Tiger." And I remember that old gruff trainer, and he says, "You have heart, kid, you have heart." And if you watch that particular, if you're like a movie fanatic, or if you like this endurance type things, you know that whenever somebody has heart, it doesn't matter how big If you're talking about boxing, the opponent is. If you're talking about some sort of an Avenger movie, it doesn't matter how big the nemesis is or the enemy is, because you know that you can. Your heart is there. You can, and you can accomplish the goal. So we've got to know what captures our heart, our core being. If we can align that with our dream, friends, then we institute number 3, and that is mental strength. Mental strength. How can you increase awareness of the change that is taking place or the goal that you now have? How can you increase awareness? This is mental capacity. It's been said that if we tell somebody what we want to accomplish, we'll have a greater chance of accomplishing that. There's all sorts of statistics on that. I'm sure, no doubt, you've heard them. How can you increase your mental strength? I go back to the saying over and over again because I believe it with all my heart. I believe with all my values, my vision, that if you think you can accomplish something, you can accomplish it. If you think about the most devastating things that we humans do to other humans, many times those are carried out in our heart, in our mind, before they're ever done to another human being. We've thought about theft many times. We stole that, whatever it is, many times before it actually happens. We've cheated on our spouse or significant other many times before it ever happens. We've lied in our heart many times before the actual event ever happens. As it works with bad or evil or things that are not good, the same is true for that which is good. If we internalize that, hey, this is where I'm going to be, then many times it will happen. If you visualize the goals, the vision, the values that you have, and you know why it's important to do you and what's important and how it's captured your heart, then there's not anything, if you keep that center, that's going to derail you from reaching your goal. In finance, years ago, someone told me that, and I've never forgotten it, they said, try not to tell people to cut their lifestyle. So oftentimes, let me be candid, oftentimes business owners are not savers. We reinvest in our business. And many times business owners are broke. So we try to teach them how to save outside their business or how to invest in their business to create extra cash flow to save outside their business. That's not uncommon, by the way, for business owners. Most Americans are broke. We live paycheck to paycheck as a majority. And so if you tell somebody, hey, you've got to cut $10,000 a year out of your budget, it's not going to happen. But if you ask them, hey, we need to create $10,000 more a year, it shows them a creative side of their brain. Now they're going to go problem solving. The same thing happens with our goals. If we lean into that noise, if we listen to the noise, if we don't address the noise, if we don't address the noise in relation to where we're headed, then we'll never, ever succeed. Whatever that term means to you, we'll never succeed. But I want to caution you. I've had this in my head for about the last 4 months. I've watched our team rally and reach this level that I never dreamed I would be in. It's pretty amazing. And as you reach your current goal that you have out in front of you, or the current vision, or the current dream, friends, candidly, and I give the team 100% of the credit for this, we've reached a goal of mine that I've had for years. We've reached it. We arrived. But let me be give you an area of caution. Leonard Sweet is credited with this particular saying. He says, nothing fails like success. It freezes you in patterns that brought you success 12 months before, but will bring you failure today. Let me say it again. Success freezes us in a pattern that brought us the success in past times or 12 months before, but now if we stay in that same pattern, it's going to bring us failure going forward. I was talking with a client this last week, and we were talking about this shift, this paradigm shift in their business, in their personal finances across the whole board, of where they had been in that area of growth, of fun, of the business is just pleasurable. And now they were dealing with turmoil, and they'd gone back and forth like a yo-yo between those two areas. They never really reached the point to where the business was on autopilot, never really